Hey everyone, and welcome to the On The Go Show, a variety show where two friends talk pop culture and current events.
If you would like to join the conversation, you can email us at onthegopod2023@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at On The Go with Jacob and James.
Without further ado, let's start the show. We're back. We're not live, but we're here.
Yep, as always.
As always. How have you been? How's your ears?
Oh, my ears are fine.
Good.
They just stopped ringing.
Mine too, actually. And I had a bit of a career crisis earlier this week. And I don't know if it extended from what we endured over the weekend.
It probably did.
It maybe did, but I was producing some stuff for the show, and nothing sounded right to me. I can never get anything to sound right.
Yep.
And it really annoyed me. And I think the day before yesterday or like Tuesday or whatever, I just had to have a day where I just don't edit things because I was too in my head.
So let me ask you this: was it like from like a high pitched voice? Was something high pitched in one ear? That's how it was with me.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't quite that. It's just like, I don't know. Nothing sounded right to me. I don't know. I tried to do new mixing techniques, and I tried adjusting things, and nothing just sounded good. And it really just made me like reflect on my skills and abilities.
You feel like Superman when he lost his hearing.
Yeah, man. You know, it's weird because I don't know if you've ever looked like audio advice, like, you know, sound mixing advice or whatever. But a lot of it is a general explanation. And then it always seems like every sentence kind of ends with, well, it's whatever you like.
Yeah, I've heard that.
It's very subjective, right? And I'm a very big critic of myself. So a lot of the times I don't think what I put out is excellent or very good. I think it's mostly okay. So I'm a huge judge of myself. So
yeah,
you might agree with me a little bit on this, like because you're a cook. Mm-hmm. You've cooked, you've worked in restaurants, you know what it's like to make food for somebody else.
Yep.
I liken it to that. It's like making someone a dish and then giving them a dish and then just being like, do you like this?
Yeah, that's because are you satisfied with this? Are you happy with what you're putting out?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, is this delicious to you? And did I do a good job? It's very like very close to the service industry. It is a service industry.
It is a service industry. Yeah, you're right.
And so sometimes I just get really in my head about things.
I think we all do.
Yeah.
When it comes to certain situations, and it's like one of those things that you kind of have to eventually conquer. Mm-hmm. Because you know you really are doing a good job of doing this thing of editing.
I'm trying.
You know, I know it's not easy. It's not easy doing this stuff. You know, especially when you're doing it all by yourself.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're doing the best you can. You know, I think this weekend probably did not help matters.
No.
Maybe. Which I know a lot of people like what happened this weekend, which we will get into.
Yeah.
But, you know, you're doing a great job, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I just had to take some time to myself and just kind of get myself out of my own head. Like I played some video games. I watched The Bear. I'm almost done with The Bear season 3. Great season as always. Very interesting, which we'll have to discuss when I fully finish it, like what we think about that series. But anyway, let's just get to it. We've alluded to it enough. So what happened this weekend was James and I went to go see our very good friend King David perform at the White Swan, kind of in the downtown Houston area. And while David did great, the sound technician for that gig was awful. Like, I don't know, just super loud the whole time. Essentially, like after the second band, like my ears were in pain. That's the best way I can describe it. Just if I could put a name to it or a phrase to it, I would say it was an audible assault on my ears. And that's not the bands. That's just the sound, and that's just that venue. Apparently, a lot of people have complained about that venue. Mm-hmm. But go ahead.
First of all, I want to thank you for inviting me.
Yeah.
We had dinner beforehand.
Oh, yeah, we did. We did.
You, me, Khadidra.
Yeah.
Khadija, your lovely wife. We had a good time. From there, we went back home, dropped her off, and we proceeded to go to the White Swan.
Yes.
The other bands that were there, they were great. This is no indictment on them, but this is an indictment on the technical issues. We are not saying that the technical issues were their fault. We're just saying that there were technical issues to be had. That was an atrocity. There's no way around it. It was an atrocity.
I'm sorry, James. I know you're being very serious right now, but I don't think you're aware of the comedic timing of what you're saying.
I think this is the best way I can go about it.
I know, but it's funny.
And it's no one else to blame. We go in there. There's a man taking tickets with a Nirvana shirt on. Don't know the man. Nice guy. Looks, hopefully he's a nice guy. Gave him $40. He said it was, I think he said it was $15. Mm-hmm. Gave him 40. Got the cash app. You chipped in with the cash app so he can give you change back. Thank you for that.
Yeah. I owe you lunch.
That's fine. We sit down. In the front seats. They're playing YouTube music. They're having Creed on. They're playing Sting. They're playing Black Hole Sun by Soundgarden. Everything's good.
Yeah, not bad vibes, actually. Pretty good starting vibes.
People are starting to triculate in. Slowly but surely they're coming in.
I want to point out the fact that we got there pretty much when the first band was supposed to start playing.
Pretty much.
We were still the first ones there.
And we were still there. There was an older gentleman that was trying to set up the sound mics, putting up all the wires, making sure that everything is hooked up right, making sure everything sounds good. Check 1 2 1 2 1 3.
For the purposes of this segment, James, we're going to call him Billie Nelson.
Billie Nelson, I like that name.
Because he was like a discount Willie Nelson. He had the weed bandana on and everything. I've named him Billie Nelson. So,
and that's what he should be. So as he's setting it up, the host that was there, the guy that was taking our change and taking our money, he introduces the first band. Mm-hmm. It's a young man, or they. I want to be disrespectful. I want to make sure I get it right.
Right.
Just in case they listen to the podcast. They performed. And immediately after that, the sound goes off.
Oh, yeah.
There's feedback.
Oh, yeah.
And you can tell, you can attest to this more than I can because you deal with this. We just got to talking about this. Audio feedback. Mm-hmm. And you could hear it. The bass was booming. Now, some people might say, well, you were sitting in front of the bass. What you expect? I've been to metal concerts before. I have never dealt with that before on my ears.
Right. Also, we weren't that close to the bass.
We were not close to the bass.
Amps. We were
not close to the amps at all.
Pretty far back.
Pretty far back. Second band comes out. He has, because I think everybody had 3 songs apiece. 3 or 4 songs apiece. All of them pretty much blended together because of how bleeding your ears were.
I couldn't tell.
You couldn't tell what song was what song.
No, couldn't tell.
People, all I'm trying to tell you is it's not the band's fault. None of the performers, not even, especially not David, who always gives a great performance. He is a star. He is legitimate. He is a legitimate star.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that.
Rising, on the rise.
He is on the rise. He's a budding star. It has nothing to do with him. It has every single thing to do with the guy, Billie Nelson.
Billie Nelson.
And I don't want to offend anybody at the White Swan. If you feel deeply offended by what we were talking about today, you can feel free to email the podcast. We will answer the call or email at any time. But it had to be said.
It does have to be said.
That was not a fun and enjoyable experience for me. And I don't like that. On a Friday night, I expect to have a good time.
It was a bad time.
It was a very bad time.
Okay, it was 95% bad time and then 5% good time when David was on.
Yeah.
And then after that, we got out of there.
And it was at that point, after his last song had performed, he was just amazing at it. We hugged him, and he vanished off into the sunset with 5 or 6, 20 different stars, 20 different fans.
This is where I'm going to come in. He took the crowd with him.
He took the whole entire crowd with him.
He walked outside to get some air after he performed because every time he performs, it's like he sheds himself and leaves a carcass on the stage, and now he's like a new butterfly, and he like flew off somewhere because the dude's like wiped out when he's done. He puts his all into his performances, but he took the crowd with him. Like they walked out with him, and I spoke to him afterwards because I was messaging him on Instagram and all this stuff, and he made the comment that he was the second to last guy, so we left before the headliner got on.
Okay,
right? You would think he would be the headliner.
He should have been.
He should have been.
He should have been.
But he was saying that he was outside so long and everybody else was outside so long with him that the show promoter, the guy who was putting on the show, the guy who took our tickets and everything, he had to come out there and be like, David, you got to come back in because nobody's in there. Nobody's watching the headliner right now. Like you gotta bring him back in. And to be fair, some of it probably is because of David. And I would say the other half of that would probably be because everyone's ears are dead.
Yeah.
At that point of the night, your ears are dead. You are not having fun. I'm sure everybody was like, great, we saw the person we wanted to see. Now let's go outside so we don't have to hear this horrible freaking sound system.
Ladies and gentlemen, I assume that if your ears were not hurting at the White Swan, you were either stoned out, drunk, or you just didn't care.
Or you're already deaf.
Or you were already deaf.
Because I cannot stress enough, like that sound system is horrible. And it's funny because I talked to Khadija the next day. I was like, hey, it's a good thing you didn't go because here's what happened. And then she made the comment that she had looked up reviews for the place and there was one big review trashing the sound guy. So apparently he's just an issue over there at the White Swan. He cranks everything up so loud. He's not very good. And then when a band comes to bring their own sound person, he takes over. He like doesn't let them touch the sound system. Like he will take over himself.
Yeah, I think we saw that at the beginning of the show. That's why I had to preface my statement by what I said.
Yeah. And there was times where he wasn't even near the board. He was outside somewhere. Like the showrunner, the show promoter had to go grab him so he could do the sound because there was a lot of feedback during one of the performances. And so they had to go get him to fix it. And I'm not talking about like real quick feedback either. I'm talking about stabbing feedback. It literally felt like the feedback was cutting into my eardrum.
My ears are still hurting.
He might as well have come to us, James, and just started stabbing us in the ears because that's what it felt like.
Now, I know some people are saying, well, what did you expect from a concert? I'm not expecting my ears to be bleeding and hurting.
Exactly.
Like I said, I have been to rock and metal concerts.
Yeah.
I know screaming rock when I hear it.
Yeah.
That's not all because you're loud does not mean yours is always good.
Right.
You cannot even hear the art that these performers were putting out.
Yeah. They were getting drowned out by their own mixes.
Exactly.
Because again, the guy just had their stuff up so loud. They were getting drowned out by their own music. You could hardly understand them. There was a good portion of like David's set where I think for 2 or 3 songs in the middle, I could hear him clearly over his mix. I was like, oh, this is good. I can hear him. And then the last 2 songs, they cranked the crap out of his stuff. Where it just, again, it's just that bleeding noise. And that's not a discredit to David. David's, like I said, David did great. His music's great. His performance is great. He had the crowd chanting. He had the crowd waving back and forth. At one point, he had everybody get on the floor and jump up, to which we did not do.
No.
Because
I already paid my money. That's no way I'm not dancing. I'm not dancing. I don't pay to dance.
Right. But everybody else was having a great time. Everybody else performed. I think at one point he started moshing with the crowd because that's a staple he does.
You get a whole interactive show with David.
Yeah. Whole interactive show. He had guest performers come up during the last song, which I did appreciate.
I did appreciate those. Though I remember those guys. They were guys at the last venue.
Yeah, and I'm glad it was just the last song because there's been times where I've seen David before where someone tries to jump up in the middle of his set. And again, I mean, if this is something he established beforehand, great. But if it's not, don't jump up on somebody's set and try to be their background singer for them, you know? But outside of that, he did a great job. There was a girl in like a cow costume.
Best part of the show.
Like she was dressed up as like a sexy cow or whatever.
Ask the chaps. Best part of the show.
And I was like, what's going on here? What is this
follow
about?
her on Instagram.
And at one point, I saw her talking to David, and I think she was wearing a cowboy hat, or somebody gave her a cowboy hat. So I was like, oh, maybe because David had put on his Instagram like, oh, it's going to be a special night. So I thought maybe he had set something up to where she's also going to be on stage with him, where he's going to have like, I don't know, a couple like, I don't know, background dancers or singers or whatever dressed up in the goth cowboy aesthetic that he has. No, it didn't happen. So in the future, David,
bring her on the stage.
Bring her on the stage.
That might have saved my ears from bleeding
for a second. Bring any cowboy themed backup dancers on the stage, please.
Cowgirl.
Yeah, cowgirl backup dancers. So, if you have a chance to go see King David, and I don't know when he's going to perform in Houston again, because word on the street is he's trying to set up a tour possibly, and I don't know. He said that was going to be his last time performing in Houston for a while. So, if he performs again sometime soon, and you have a chance to go see him, go see him. If it's at the White Swan, maybe
bring some earplugs.
Bring earplugs. Find out what time he goes on, and just go see him. And then get out of there before your ears are shredded. Because that place will kill your ears. That's very irresponsible to do as a sound person, by the way. Like you can't blast out people's eardrums like that.
It was unprofessional.
You can rupture eardrums. You can permanently damage hearing, and I'm pretty sure we both have hearing damage from it.
Oh, no doubt. And this is in all seriousness. I'm pretty sure my ears are still ringing.
Yeah.
My ears are literally still ringing. My right ear hurts.
Yeah.
From this. So,
bad time, good performances. It's unfortunate that the sound guy killed it. So, Billy Nelson, wherever you are, I hope you're not doing well. That's all I got to say. And David, you're doing great. Keep it up. But it's time to move on, James. We got some emails to answer.
You've got mail.
So I told you sometime last week we got an email from Zach, right?
All right.
Zach emailed us. In case you missed it, if you're a follower of the show like Zach is, we normally have a Monday and a Friday release, but we're going down to 1 day a week, and we're introducing some smaller segments throughout the week if we have extra content. So this was actually intended to be a Monday show segment because Monday is a little bit more personal, whereas we would talk about David's set, and Friday is more pop culture. But we're not doing that anymore. We're going down to a different thing, and I'm over explaining. But so Zach sends us an email about NFL. So he goes, I have gotten more into the NFL in recent years, and I feel like just from watching it for a few years, I get the sense that it's more of a business now with how much money goes into it now than rather a sport. So with my tinfoil hat on, that's why I think the Chiefs are going to make it 3 for 3 because that will make the NFL the most money. And I suppose that's Travis Kelce's team with Taylor Swift,
Patrick
right?
Mahomes, yeah.
Okay. So he's saying the Chiefs are going to make it again because they made it last year as well.
Made it last year, made it the year before that.
Right. Damn.
Yep.
Damn. So what do you have to say as somebody who enjoys the NFL and used to have an NFL or a football-related show?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. It is business. It is very, very business now. Very corporate. You know that just by watching the Super Bowl and seeing the Super Bowl prices. Super Bowl is no longer for us. It used to, at one point in time, it used to be for the average Joe.
Yeah.
But now the Super Bowl, those tickets are not for us. They're for venues, sponsors, and they get the tickets and employees. Boom. Mm-hmm. Would it be good for the NFL to have Kansas City win? Sure.
Yeah.
But I think that either way it go, they're going to make the money. Either way it go, it's too much of a global conglomerate.
Because no one's not going to go to the Super Bowl if the Chiefs don't go.
It's not like basketball where you kind of need those popular teams like the Los Angeles Lakers, Boston Celtics, New York Knicks. Like you kind of need those big market teams to win because no one's going to care about the small market team.
Yeah.
But in this case, it's NFL. NFL's different. It's just a different monster, different animal. It doesn't matter.
They're not hurting for money, essentially.
No.
And if they are, the Super Bowl makes up for it every year.
It makes up for it every year.
So, okay. That's your answer to that?
Yep.
All right. Can I tell you, a friend and ex-coworker of ours, Kevin, every year, how he predicts the winner of the Super Bowl is he picks the team with the best outfit.
Oh, okay.
And 95% of the time, he's right.
Huh.
So, I think last year he might have had it wrong.
Yeah.
Or the year before that. But literally every Super Bowl.
You said 95, so
yeah. So
that's a pretty good percentage.
It is a good percentage, but yeah, he picks the team with the better outfit. I guess that what he deems is a better outfit. It's very subjective. So,
it is kind of subjective.
You know, I can't say how accurate he really is.
Probably not
outside of the time that I've known him, but you know, that's just something he does for fun. So if you ever want to place bets on the Super Bowl, maybe base it off the outfit sometimes.
Call him.
Yeah, call him. With Zach's out the way, that brings us to our email from our other listener, James, that I mentioned last week, the Reddit story guy, Shaynor Ula. So last week I get an email saying, "Hey, here's some weird Reddit creepypastas. Please narrate them and review them brutally, honestly."
Okay.
Right? He wants a brutally honest review. So I have taken the time to record one, and then Joel has recorded some other ones as well. So I'm just going to do 2. We have 10 stories to go through, but we're not going to do all 10 in an episode. I'm going to do 2. They're very short. I'm going to play them for you, and we're both going to review them. These are straight narrated stories. I haven't produced them. There's no silliness to it. It's just going to be straight narration.
Which I think is probably for the best.
Yes. So I'm going to give you a choice for the first one. Do you want Mother's Boy or KFC?
KFC.
All right. I'm going to play KFC for you.
It's not because I'm black and I love chicken.
Okay.
This is a random story from Reddit, being read by Joel, edited by Jacob. You're welcome, dear listeners. Kentucky Fried Chicken. I got a family-size Kentucky Fried Chicken bucket. It was a family size, as I had a large family to feed, and we all loved Kentucky Fried Chicken. I remember bringing a large family bucket-sized chicken home, and it smelled so good. The sauces themselves were reaching my nose, and I could have had it all to myself. I love family time like this, and we were all going to eat this family bucket fried chicken all to ourselves. Even the fries smell good. And this is eternal when you get family time like this. I remember bringing the food home, and my family were all excited. All my 4 children and my wife were enjoying the Kentucky Fried Chicken. Then I fell asleep on the floor after eating too much. Then when I woke up, I saw eaten fried chicken all over the floor. The position they were in were the position where my children and wife were. Then I realized why there was chicken all over the floor. My family weren't alive. They were killed by a serial killer, who I allowed into my home. This serial killer begged me not to let him into my home, but I felt I was doing good charity. He then murdered my family. That was why there were uneaten Kentucky Fried Chicken all over the floor, because ghosts can't eat food. Then, to take my mind off it, I went to a magic show. There were going to be a magician who can make people disappear. I went to the show, and he asked a member of the audience to come up. Then, right in front of our eyes, the audience member then disappeared right in front of our eyes. There were no blankets used or any trickery. It was real. Then another audience member got up and was asked to volunteer. The second audience member also disappeared, right in front of our eyes. Then we all heard screams outside. Terrified individuals running from monsters. Then the magician realized he hadn't made the two volunteers disappear, but rather he made the whole audience disappear by accident. But it looked like those two audience members had disappeared. Then he asked another audience member to get up, and he was sure he could make them disappear. In reality, he didn't. He made the whole audience disappear. We were in a different world, and we didn't know what this world was like. Then, in this world, my family called me. They couldn't believe it. They wanted a family-size Kentucky Fried Chicken. Oh my God, I can't believe it.
This was a random story from Reddit. Read by Joel. Edited by Jacob. Thank you for listening, and have a wonderful day.
Tell me your thoughts.
Didn't really care for that story.
Okay.
I thought it was going to be a little bit more interesting than that. I felt myself dozing off more than anything.
All right.
Yeah. That ain't it.
Okay. That's your brutally honest review?
Yeah, that ain't it.
Okay. Did any part of it intrigue you?
No.
No?
No.
Okay. You write things occasionally, right?
I do.
Okay. I guess, what kind of writing advice would you give for a story like this?
I didn't say I was a good writer. That's for sure.
Yeah. You don't have to be.
But, see, I never heard of creepypasta.
So a creepypasta is like a short horror story.
Okay.
Or it's not always a short horror story. It can be just like a weird, creepy story.
Why do they call it creepypasta?
You know, I don't really know. I know sometimes they're known as creepypastas because they get shared a lot. It's just like a term for them. It's like a weird internet term.
Oh, okay.
So I think who could probably tell us is Richard, because I know this is right up Richard's alley.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I always look for good characters.
Right.
Like when I write stories, I always like to envision the people that I work with, the people that I'm hanging around, and I put them in scenarios or fantasy scenarios that kind of fits their character.
Right.
Like that's what I like to do a lot. You know, I'm not really good at doing horror stories like that.
I see.
I would never do a horror story. It'll be more fantasy,
Right.
or life based, or hell, even romantic story.
Yeah.
But I could never do a horror story.
I think what could help is a lot more detail, because I mean it's a short story, but within that short story there's not a lot of information. You can still put a lot of information in a short story. And so I think if there was like a little bit more detail added to certain things, like the narrator mentions that a serial killer killed his family and he had let him into the house by his own mistake. You know, you could add a paragraph or two of what went down exactly. And you know, it's supposed to be a horror story, so you could really zhoosh it up with the details on it. But a little bit of elaboration there would have been a little bit more helpful. I didn't mind the weird supernatural side at the end, because I went to go see a magician, he was making people disappear, and it turns out we were in an alternate dimension. That could have just also been the story from the start.
Yeah.
You didn't have to spend half your short story setting it up about the KFC thing.
Yep.
I mean, I know you have to twist at the end with the family being in the other world, and that's a good twist. But you could still erase the serial killer plot.
I was about to say, yeah.
You could still have the KFC, the weird traumatic, hey, I buy KFC because my family's not around anymore, and it's like this traumatic response because your family did enjoy KFC, and maybe one day your wife took the kids to the circus to see a magician. The magician disappeared them into another universe, and they disappeared. That could be the serial killer, the magician, So
that's not, I ain't gonna lie, it's like Stephen King a little bit. A
little bit, but that's not bad. I get the inspiration, and so that could have been a way you could kind of change up the story and still have the same sort of context. The KFC setup, the dead family, the magician, maybe a little switch up, changing things around would have made it a little bit more enticing. because you go from, oh, I love KFC, and then my family was murdered, to, and then one day I went to watch a magic show.
Yes, that doesn't make any sense.
It's like two different short stories in one. Whereas if you just change a couple details or elaborate more in certain areas and elaborate less in other areas, you could have something a little bit more intriguing and enticing.
Like, in other words, you basically can't jump from one thing to another.
Right. And understandably, it's a short story, and I'm looking at the Reddit page that it's on. Part of the rules is it's got to be about 500 words. You know, I get for this context that you kind of limit yourself in wording, but that's also a challenge because how do you write something more intriguing and enticing with little words? Because you have to use less time explaining things, but you still have to explain things, you know, properly. But, you know, that's just kind of our reviews on this story.
Yeah.
So, and I think we did that brutally and honestly, and we're not making fun of you. We're not.
No, of course not.
We're not making fun of the writing. So
Once again, that's totally not the intent.
no,
We are not disrespecting anybody on this platform.
exactly. So we were asked to give an honest and brutal review, and that's our honest and brutal review. So I like the concept. It's just,
Me too. I do like the concept.
yeah, the concept is there, but, you know, change it up or maybe rewrite it and write it to be a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you're abiding yourself by the rules of Reddit, and you don't have to. And maybe you do have a longer version of this somewhere. In which case, if you have one or if you revise it, I would love to read it. I would love to see where this story can go because the intrigue is there. It just needs to sustain itself.
On the Gold Podcast with Jacob and James. It's freaking rad, brother. Rad.
We're actually going to move away from the Reddit story segment because we've spent a lot of time already in this episode talking about David's show and everything else. I kind of want to get to some of the other topics I had at hand today, and we're gonna start by visiting our old friend Frankie Valli. Remember Frankie? Old Five Nights at Frankie's.
Oh, yeah.
The 90-year-old singer that's barely on stage.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, apparently, ever since we did that episode, James, the notoriety about Frankie Valli's like most recent performances have been picking up.
Oh, so it's because of us.
Yeah, it's totally because of us. It's definitely because of us, James.
Even if it's not, I'm still taking credit.
Yeah, I'm taking credit for it as well. Definitely because of us. People are now exposed to the possible elder abuse that's going on with Frankie Valli. Well, poor old Frankie Valli, his managers kind of made him respond to the illusion that he might be being abused, right? And recently he told People magazine the accusations crack him up, reiterating on his own terms, "Nobody has ever made me do anything I didn't want to." Frankie's all about that Four Seasons magic, saying as long as the fans keep showing up, he's in it for the long haul, promising to be like that bunny on TV, just keeps going and going and going, chasing the music.
Look, you know the Energizer Bunny ended up dying, right?
There's no,
You don't see too many of those commercials anymore.
there's no energy there.
There's no energy there.
There's no energy to the energy bunny. If Frankie Valli is the bunny, there's no energy there, Frankie. I don't know. Someone needs to tell you. Someone needs to sit you down. If you can sit down, it looks like you can barely move.
It looks like he can barely walk.
I mean, you're looking like the animatronics at Disney World, Frankie,
Yeah.
buddy.
And even they moving faster.
Yeah. You know, hey, look, Biden knew when it was time to step down, and he's younger than you, so maybe.
Well, he was a little bit kind of pressure too.
Yeah, but you know, in this context, maybe Frankie, maybe you should do like the president and just hang it up for a little bit. You know,
Maybe.
just take some rest because we know you're not singing. So.
God, man, I never thought we'd hear from Frankie again.
Yeah. Well, you know who else you didn't think you'd hear from again?
Who?
Cheeseball-Man. The conclusion of the Cheeseball-Man.
I really hope so.
James, the conclusion of Cheeseball-Man. He put out another video recently, and basically at some point he started doing like a like a competition for other superheroes. He set up another thing in like Central Park or whatever. We had all these other fake superheroes come up and do tryouts. It was for a prize of $10,000, which kind of had me squinting at it because now you're getting the Mr. Beast territory. You know what I mean? Like you're just making people do stuff for money.
That's your boy.
That's not my boy.
Yes, it is. You one of those pepper cheering for him and all that pep rally for him.
Oh, Cheeseball-Man?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll take credit for that. I thought you meant Mr. Beast. I was like, nope.
No.
So, Mr. Cheeseball-Man holds all these tryouts, and in these tryouts, he's got like the Pickle Man. He's got Shark and Chicken. He's got all kind like he's got
basically the Justice League of food.
Yeah. Well, he's got like one guy come up who said he's Disappointment Man. And it was like a last minute entry, and he just doesn't do anything. There was one clever guy whose name was Stuntman, and he had like a whole team of people just doing all the stuff for him, which I thought was clever. But
yeah, I do like that.
Yeah, it was very clever. And unfortunately, he didn't win, but he should have, just for creativity.
That's crazy.
He had lemon juice, lad. Drank a bunch of juice.
This kind of reminded me of that movie Mystery Men with Ben Stiller.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
There's definitely some inspiration there. I get that. And, eventually they picked a winner. They picked the Pickle Man is the winner. So he gets to be the new Cheeseball Man of sorts. Because after this, Cheeseball dude said he's done. Like, he's like, this is where it's ending. I'm not doing any more Cheeseball shit.
I really hope so.
Which, to be honest, I'm glad. Because at the point where you've now brought other people in on this and you're giving them money for it, you are getting to like weird Mr. Beast territory.
Yep.
And Mr. Beast ain't doing so good these days. So seeing this come to an end is a nice conclusion.
That's all he deserves.
Yeah. And to be fair, again, he still brought people together. Like, it was people hanging out in Central Park. They weren't bothering anybody. It was an open event. Like, it gave people something to do and to have fun and not think about the horrors of the world. So I do appreciate that. This wasn't a bad thing that he did or he achieved. So it is still nice seeing a content creator do something just for fun and not have it to be like this pseudo journalism thing that's going on a lot with like content creators.
Yeah, I don't know. I was never a big fan when I first heard about the story.
I know.
I was never a big fan of Cheeseball-Man.
Cheeseball-Man.
So I'm not really surprised at his new status now.
Yeah, I had to bring him back. I had to bring him back to do the conclusion of the story. The best movies, James, are in 3 acts. Actually, all movies are in 3 acts. But,
Yeah.
but it's a 3-act part. We had the beginning of Cheeseball-Man. We had the return of Cheeseball-Man. This is the conclusion of Cheeseball-Man. And now we're getting ready for the rise of the Pickle Man.
Oh my God.
Which I'm not gonna follow the Pickle Man. Honestly, you got lucky with the cheeseball stunt. I'm not gonna watch somebody do pickles. Even
though I love pickles, no, I don't want to see that.
Yeah, because apparently the Pickle Man's gonna eat a jar of pickles somewhere. But we're done. We're not covering that anymore. This was a stretch for me to cover.
I sure hope you promised me that.
We're done. I'm not talking about Pickle Man.
God, man.
This was to lay Cheeseball-Man to rest, along with Frankie Valli. Honestly, we're doing a lot of rehashes today, James.
R.I.P. R.I.P. Cheese, man.
R.I.P. Cheese, dude.
Hey, Squoopsies, you know what time it is?
Time to rub my belly button bubbles? Is that what time it is?
No, Squoopsies. It's time for Jacob and James on the Go podcast.
That's my favorite. I love watching them. Oh, yeah.
Let's get into the pop culture news of the show. What would you like to start off with, James? You want to start off with Bane and Deathstroke? Do you want to talk about Green Lantern? What do you want to talk about?
We can talk about the Bane and Deathstroke thing real quick.
All right.
Because apparently in Variety, no, it wasn't a Variety, it was a Hollywood Reporter, that James Gunn is reportedly developing a movie of Deathstroke and Bane.
Yes.
And I don't know whether it be a duel, whether it be a partnership. I have no idea.
There's speculation that this is Raven the Bold.
It could be.
This is a secret Raven the Bold
leading to
script. Yeah. Like, it's not actually going to be a Bane and Deathstroke movie, but Bane and Deathstroke might be the villains of Raven the Bold. That's kind of what the going theory is.
And that's what I kind of felt like, too. I was like, maybe this is like a lead-in. Now, the thing about it is, when is this movie going to come out? Because...
That's a good question.
they got so much stuff down the pipeline that's supposed to come out.
They got a lot of stuff.
You still got this Batman situation that's lingering.
Yeah.
It's like, so if you introduce a new Batman, you're going to have people that's just going to be pissed off. Now, if you don't introduce a new Batman, you're going to be figuring out how the hell is Bane and Deathstroke in this universe? How does that work in this universe?
Well, they're also weird characters to work together.
They are.
Because both of them are kind of lone wolves, right? Like, Bane doesn't really... I don't know Bane to team up with too many people.
He doesn't need to.
You know, he's teamed up with Ivy in that one Joel Schumacher movie. But that doesn't count. That's
ultimately, he doesn't need to team up with anybody. He's big as hell.
Yeah, he's his own person. And Deathstroke's the same way. Deathstroke's a mercenary, so people pay him. I submitted to you when you first told me about this that maybe, for whatever reason, Bane pays Deathstroke to do a job. Mm-hmm. And I said maybe that job is someone stole Bane's venom, and now he's all weak and frail because obviously he doesn't have the venom pumping through him. He's run out of his supply. He can't do it himself. So you hire Deathstroke, who is a trained mercenary and knows how to track people down.
I can see that.
So that could be a potential plot point. It could still revolve around Batman. You know, maybe Batman took the venom or Batman destroyed the rest of his stash or whatever. And
see, that's the thing about it. If you introduce that, you know you're going to introduce Batman.
Right. And that is where the problem lies because Matt Reeves' Batman is still going on and James Gunn doesn't want to introduce a new Batman at the same time because that would confuse people. Mm-hmm. The general audiences anyway. If you've been following it, you would know.
If you follow comic books, you'll understand.
Yeah, but general audiences would be pretty confused by it. And the big issue now is Warner Brothers wants Matt Reeves to wrap this up, essentially, right? You were telling me before we started recording. So you want to elaborate a little bit more?
I just feel like we need a Wonder Woman.
Oh, okay. That came out of nowhere.
I feel like we need a Wonder Woman. I just don't know why this movie's getting made. Now, of all the faith I have in James Gunn, I don't believe this movie should be getting made.
He seems to be getting very excited about his
a lot
projects.
Of stuff.
He's getting ahead of himself. And some of it might come from Warner Brothers. Because I did state Warner Brothers has an issue with shooting themselves in the foot with their DC properties.
They do. Because they want to... there was another rumor coming out that, you know, DC kind of wants, like, hey, we kind of want Matt Reeves' Batman.
Yeah.
You know, it would be a lot more easier.
He's already established.
He's already
there.
You don't have to introduce him into the Justice League. You can keep him going. But at the same time, it's good to know that he's right there and he's already established and we already know who it is.
Right.
And the fans know who he is. We're comfortable with him. Boom.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, him and David Cornsweet are pretty much the same age.
Yeah.
Marriage made in heaven. Batman
and Superman are very much opposites of each other anyway.
And the way they filmed this new Superman movie, and the way that Matt Reeves filmed Batman, they are totally polar opposites.
Night and day.
Complete night and day.
Right, which is what Metropolis and Gotham are, yeah.
That's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So I'm just of the opinion, like I said, would I watch a Bane and Deathstroke movie? Sure. Because we haven't seen Bane, Deathstroke, and my question is, who would you get to play Bane?
That's a good question.
Because, you know, Batista's been trying to play Bane for years.
He has been, but he's also gotten very slim.
He's been, because he lost weight, because he said he doesn't want to get that big anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure.
He's not doing these roles.
I'm pretty sure when he saw that was coming down the pipeline, he's like, well.
I missed my chance.
All right.
You're not going to get The Rock, because Rock's not going to wear that mask.
No.
He's the size. He can be the size, he's not wearing that mask.
And plus, he's not doing any more business with DC and Warner Brothers.
No, DC's done with him.
He's got Disney by the balls now.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's his new baby.
Yeah.
It would be cool to see what's his name? Joe Manganiello come back as Deathstroke, because he didn't have a fair shot.
That's true.
I liked him as Deathstroke. He looked just like him.
The one scene we got to see him in.
Mm-hmm.
He looked great.
He looked really great.
Or two scenes, because I guess he was in that nightmare sequence.
Yeah.
In the Justice League,
he was,
like the Fuller one. Yeah.
So it'd be nice to see him come back. You know, if James Gunn wanted to keep somebody,
right?
But he hasn't kept anybody else, so I wouldn't think that he would keep Joe Manganiello. Unfortunately,
probably not. He seems to be firebombing the whole DCU stuff.
He's getting rid of all of it.
He's just done.
But you gotta be careful, because you doing all that firing and all that stuff. You better make sure your stuff is good.
That is true.
Because they're gonna be looking. We gonna be looking Christmas time.
Yeah.
But,
for sure.
You know, all I heard was just the rumors and stuff like that. It was on Deadline and on a Hollywood Reporter.
Yeah, this is very, very fresh.
Yeah, still fresh. Don't even know what's coming yet.
There's also talks of a dynamic duo animated movie.
Yep, the two Robins.
Yeah.
Basically kind of changed their kind of origin stories a little bit. Jason Todd and Tim Drake. Was it Jason Todd and I think it's Jason Todd and Tim Drake, if I'm not mistaken. Nightwing, I'm sorry. Well, Nightwing, so it's Dick Grayson. Jason Todd and it's Jason Todd and Dick Grayson.
Yeah.
So basically, it's gonna be like kind of like a puppetry tie / CGI / animatronic. If you know what that looks like, right?
Yeah. Well, according to comicbookmovie.com, which I don't know how well their sources are, it says that their animation style is kind of reminiscent of the Spider-Verse style.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, according to like whoever Swaybox Studio is. Yesterday evening, the news broke that DC Studios is teaming up with Swaybox Studios for Dynamic Duo, an animated movie revolving around Robin, Dick Grayson, and Jason Todd. And it goes on to say, given the unique animation style being planned for the project, it feels like it could be every bit as special as Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Okay, I'm wrong. It could be as special.
Oh, okay. Because they said puppetry and CGI and stop animation.
Yeah.
So I don't, I've been all yesterday. I was trying to look up what puppetry looks like. I was like, oh, I hope that's not it.
Right. Well, let's look up Swaybox Studio. Oh yeah, it is very much like it's stop motion and it's puppets at the same time.
Oh,
yeah.
That kind of scares me a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm like puppets.
Yeah, because it's not quite like the Coraline look, but it is. Yeah, you can tell it's puppets on strings.
Oh God!
I mean, the strings aren't showing, right? But
yeah,
very much so. Stop motion puppets on strings. That's ambitious.
That's an ambitious thing to do, man.
And again, this goes back to what I said about DC shooting themselves in the foot. Sometimes they just want to steamroll so much stuff. It happened with Green Lantern. That's why Green Lantern came out the way it did with Ryan Reynolds. Oh God! They were trying to rush Ben Affleck with his Batman film, and that's why eventually he stopped doing it. They're in a good spot right now to get ahead of Disney.
Exactly. You got Creature Commandos coming out. You got Superman coming out. You got the Green Lantern stuff coming out. Why damage it by doing this?
Right. And they've already tried to rush the Justice League before. They've already tried rushing the whole DCU, and that didn't work, which is why we're with James Gunn. And that's why all these things are happening. So it's just like, slow down, David Zaslav. Like, let's chill out for a second here.
I believe it's David Zaslav more than anything.
Right.
That's doing this.
Right.
It's pulling the strings.
So I don't know. We'll see. And they're probably trying to find their own version of Into the Spider-Verse because it came out a few months ago. They totally flubbed the Batman Beyond animation, which was done by the same guys who eventually did do the Into the Spider-Verse stuff. So it's like you guys, you had an opportunity to make as much money as Sony is off of those Spider-Verse movies, and you poured it down the drain, and now you're trying to make your own animated film, I suppose. I mean, they are really good with their animation stuff, though. Like their animation,
and it's big budget.
Movies,
this would be a big budget film.
Yeah, their animated movies have always done very well. That was the one thing they did have over Marvel was the fact that their animated universe was so great, but their live action wasn't very good. And Marvel had the opposite issue, right? Marvel's live action was really great, but they hardly have anything with the animation side because it's all tied up with Disney.
Yep.
They haven't done like an actual animated Marvel film.
Well, they haven't done that in
a long time.
Yeah, a long time. I think the last one was Kid Avengers.
Yeah, something like there was like two of those. Yeah, with like Ultron as a villain. Mm-hmm. So
I mean, like I said, hopefully, I know James Gunn said he wanted to do animation films, and they would also tie into the bigger universe with the live action. So maybe with Bane and Deathstroke movie, with the Robin's movie, you'll get all those type of things, and it'll combine together. And then when we get a Brave and the Bold movie, you won't have to be caught up so much, which will make sense.
Hopefully they get it ironed out and
I'm just not big on that. Like when I heard puppetry, I'm like, puppetry.
It's rough. It's kind of sketchy.
Yeah,
but
we already seen ambitious filmmaking by Todd Phillips already.
That is true.
And it's not looking too good for him.
That is true. That is very true.
You gotta be careful with this ambitious stuff, these ambitious takes. All because you like it does not mean everybody else will like it.
Yeah. So, moving away from Disney a little bit, James. DC. I'm gonna put it out there. Yeah, you're right. DC. I'm sorry. They both start with D's. They sound similar. DC, Disney.
I see what you did there.
DC, Disney.
They both start with D's.
They both start with D's.
D's what?
No, I don't know, James. But anyway, we're gonna move on to the Chucky show. The Chucky show, James, has been canceled.
Oh no!
Right? Who would have thought after a season of jumping the shark, you would get canceled? And look, I respect the show for what it was. I respect Don Mancini for being able to do what he wants to do with his property. It's always great when creators get full control of what they have. However, sometimes Don Mancini has a habit of going over the rails with it. We've seen it before with like the Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky movies. And then he kind of reeled it back in for the Curse of Chucky and the Cult of Chucky. And season 1 of Chucky was really great. Season 2 was pretty good. And then season 3 was where he went fully back into the Seed of Chucky stuff, right? Just full on goofiness. He's in the White House. He kills the president. He bombs the North Pole.
Getting old.
He's getting old. I did like that part of the plot because they exorcised him in season 2 and it caused like the voodoo god to hate Chucky because he's infected with Christianity, essentially.
Okay.
It was an interesting plot. It also tied the voodoo back into it, which is originally what started all the Chucky nonsense to begin with. So I don't think that was a bad thing. But I had a feeling after the third season that it probably wasn't going to get a fourth. And it's kind of funny because I think that was a season they were at the end of the third season. They put out a thing where Chucky's like, "Hey, call Sci-Fi, tell them you want a fourth season." So I think already they kind of knew.
Yeah, they already knew.
However, Don Mancini, Jennifer Tilly, Brad Dourif, all the people behind the Chucky stuff, they're not really like that upset about it. I mean, they're bummed, right? It always does suck to have your show canceled, right?
But they're not losing any sleep over it.
No, because they were essentially just like, look, Chucky always comes back. Chucky's gonna return. We'll do a movie. We'll do a whatever.
Well, yeah, because I did read that they're still planning on doing a movie.
Yeah, and I think Don Mancini for a couple of years has wanted to do another movie anyway, and so I don't think it's really. For one, it was a huge gamble that he got a TV series. No other slasher has really gotten a TV series. They did have a Scream series for a little bit, but it wasn't really like
brutal.
It was, yeah. It didn't do so great. And then I mean, I think Freddy had a series, but he wasn't like an antagonist. It was like an anthology short story, like short horror story stuff. Friday the 13th, the same thing. I think back in the 80s or whatever, 90s, they had a Friday the 13th show, and it was essentially kind of like what the Freddy show was, where it was just a bunch of like short anthology horror stories. And they've been trying to actually make a Friday the 13th series, but they want to base it off of the mom.
Yeah, which I do not want to see.
Nobody wants to see that. And also, just the rights with Friday the 13th have been really weird over the past few years.
Yeah, Jason X.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't use Friday the 13th.
Right. Ever since 2009 when that reboot came out. And the reboot was really great, honestly.
Yeah. Jason Takes Manhattan.
Yeah, that one. But no, the 2009 one. The actual reboot with Jared Padalecki.
I never saw it.
Okay, it was very good. Essentially, they take the first 3 films and put them all into one, but they do it in a very good, cohesive way.
Gotcha.
Right? And it's also a slasher, so there's plenty of murders and whatnot. It's great movie. But ever since then, they've had rights issues with it. But back to Chucky, he was kind of the first big slasher to really get a good, decent show.
Yep.
It's amazing they were able to do it, and I'm kind of excited and curious to see what Don Mancini does next with the series or this character. I would like to see an actual payoff in
the movie,
the story, or the movies, just an official end to this. It's fun to keep coming back to it, but you added so much lore, especially in the past like 3 or 4 years with the show, that we need a conclusion. I feel like this is the closest slasher we have to a conclusion. Well, maybe Scream too. I don't know. I know the Scream series is still going, but I don't know if that's like close to ending or.
Well, from what I've heard, him hearing Scream was going through his own problems. So
yeah, that's true.
I don't know why they just won't cancel it. Just get it over with.
Yeah, I mean,
just throw the axe on it. Just. I don't understand why they keep trying to do a Scream movie.
Yeah, it's just the slasher genre. It's hard to keep up with. There's all kinds of new slashers coming out though. That Thanksgiving movie last year was really great.
You got Smile. Even though Smile's not really a slasher movie, but you got people that are possessed to kill people.
Happy Death Day.
Happy Death Day.
That's a good one. That's a good modern one. So, I mean, you have plenty of new properties to take its place. Just give us a proper ending to Chucky, whether it be in a movie down the line, or maybe you do get a 4th season renewed. But I want to see a proper ending to this character sometime soon.
Well, I mean, I hope you get that. I don't think you will, Well, I hope you get that.
I hope so too. So rest in peace, Chucky. For now, he always comes back, James.
Sure.
He always comes back.
My name is Dick Righteous, and I'm here to take you on the wonderful journey through freedom, justice, in the good old American way. Like a hamburger with fries.
You wanted to talk about Joker? You wanted to do a bit on Joker?
Yeah, because I've been seeing some of the reviews about Joker. I mean, obviously I haven't seen the movie yet. It's not a movie I've been so excited to watch anyway.
Right.
So, from what I'm hearing, the movie's pretty divisive. And I just want to know, like, I want to pose the question to you. Why do you think this movie was made? Well, we know why the movie was made, because of money.
It made billions of dollars.
It made billions of dollars. But we know with Todd Phillips, the first Joker was basically 2 Martin Scorsese films rolled into one, and you slap DC on top of it.
A lot of inspiration.
You slap DC on it. When you do something original, you seem to struggle.
Right.
And he does not have a great track record of doing sequels. The two Hangovers, terrible. So I want to know, should we be done with doing villain arc movies?
I want to say yes, but we're not going to be done for a while. It seems like, James. We just talked about Bane and Deathstroke.
They got Sony. They do these villain movies.
They're doing their villain stuff. I mean, Venom 3 is going to be it.
Yeah.
Tom Hardy said, like, Venom 3 is it. We're done.
It should be.
You know, the Craven Hunter show movie is probably going to be done.
Yeah, it's going to feel like a show.
Yeah. Morbius, dead on arrival.
Madam Web. Madam Web's like anti.
Not even an anti-hero. She's not.
She's just annoying. She's just an annoying character. I just don't know why. Why would you seek to this point to do a movie about singing, a musical?
Well, yeah, it is a strange question because Joker itself was a fluke. Let's be honest.
It just happened.
The success it got was a huge fluke. The fact that you gave an origin story to a character who has no origin. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest thing about this character is that there's no real sustainable origin.
So you slapped on the origin.
Yeah, you slapped on an origin, which not entirely a bad thing. It's an interesting take. I could take it for that. You know,
but
obviously it wasn't entirely original. No, but you know, obviously they weren't trying to be like this is the official origin. DC didn't come out and add it to the comic books that this is what this guy went through, right? It's more or less like an Elseworlds what if story, which is what I appreciated about Joker was it was very Elseworlds, and DC's really good with the Elseworlds stuff. You know, Marvel has what if, DC has Elseworlds, and they've got a ton of cool Elseworld stories.
Yeah.
But then, you know, the sequel was announced, and I was kind of excited for the sequel because they were going to introduce Harley Quinn, and it's like, okay, cool, they can do Mad Love. That's the most obvious way you go about this, right? You do Mad Love, you adapt Mad Love, and we've seen in the trailer they kind of change it to where Harley Quinn is an inmate of the asylum. Not totally against it because I'm like, all right, I get it. Like this is already kind of a fractured version of the Joker anyway, so I can kind of get behind it. The musical part does have me a little skeptical.
Almost everybody from what I've been reading is just like, if you take out the singing parts, the movie's actually kind of okay,
right?
Which that's not good.
Early reviews, right?
Yeah, the early reviews. Well, early reviews from, you know, I know there's a special screening today for fans and stuff like that. And there's a lot of people that have already saw this movie.
Yeah, I saw Regal's doing a thing where if you see it once, you get 500 points. If you see it twice, you get 30 days free for some DC online thing. If you see it a third time, you get 1,000 points, which, I mean, I don't know. It kind of seems desperate for them to be like, go watch it 3 times in the theaters.
You know why?
But I guess they did the same thing for Deadpool and Wolverine. So I don't think it's...
Did they?
Yeah, supposedly they did. I don't know for sure.
I'm not sure about that.
I didn't see an advertisement for Deadpool and Wolverine like that.
I didn't see an advertisement for that. But I would assume so for Joker because they know this movie's going to flop.
I mean, the fact that they did a sequel was a whole gamble.
Yeah,
to begin with. It was a gamble for the first one. It's definitely a gamble for the second one.
And like you said, if you did not know how, if you didn't have anything original to put in here,
right?
If you didn't have anything to say, why didn't you just do Mad Love?
Right, you could have done Mad Love, or you could have done another villain. When this movie first came out, I think we had talked about maybe like, oh, what if they did a a Mr. Freeze movie because you can do that character. He's got a deep story thanks to the animated series, actually, because his original origins was very goofy.
As long as you make it the Elseworld.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you still make an Elseworlds thing, but you could do a real grounded, deep, emotional Mr. Freeze story. I was like, you could take it that direction, or, you know, you could do a grounded Clayface or whatever. Like, Batman's villains are always very sad in a way. You know, they've been screwed over by society. They're either mad scientists or they're just blue collar people who are angry at the city.
Well, I mean, you got something like the Penguin where it's a show that works because the character itself.
Yeah.
You know, and with the Joker, I think they just missed the mark probably. I'm just assuming. But from early reviews, it just seems like they kind of missed the mark with this.
Yeah.
You know, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. I don't think it probably. This movie, if I had to guess, it's the same thing over Gladiator. Gladiator's the same thing. Why is Gladiator getting made?
Well,
for Best Picture.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back. It kind of goes back to our conversation about nostalgia.
Yeah,
and nostalgia and how it's affecting the movie industry and just legacy sequels. I mean, Joker's not a legacy sequel, but yeah, and sequels in general. Yeah, you're right. It's, you know, this is taking the place of what could have been an original concept of a movie. So it's, I don't know, neither one of us has seen it. The early reviews could be wrong. We could both go see it, and turns out we actually enjoyed it to some degree.
Could be.
You know?
I hardly doubt it, but could be.
Yeah, hopefully, you know, next episode, one or both of us has a review on it, because I would like to talk about this more once we've seen it and actually put our eyes on it and you know, have our own opinion on it, because that's the hard thing nowadays, James. It's so hard to form your own opinion on things when you have so much media coming at you. Yeah,
I mean, but this in particular, I actually went on and did it myself. I opened up that Pandora's box because, like I said, I just really didn't care. Yeah, because I just didn't have it really.
Your thoughts to begin with on this was always kind of meh.
Yeah, so I was like, so I really didn't care. So usually for every other movie, I'd be like, I'm trying to stay away from. This, I just really did not care.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I kind of get it, because you're like, what could this movie really be hiding that the first one already hasn't kind of shown or displayed to us?
Exactly.
The first one already sets up that he's an unreliable narrator. So when you already do that, you know, the sequel could be whatever, and then at the end of it, you could just be like, well, some of it didn't happen. Kind of like the first one.
But then what you're doing is you're just pretty much pissing on what you just did in the first movie.
Yeah. You got to be careful. And some of that could be from when they made the script. They were ripping pages up. They were kind of rewriting things on the fly.
Never a good thing.
Never a good thing. It never comes out good. Nope. No matter how good of a writer or director or actor you think you are, you can't screw with your material as you're making it.
You got to stand on your
Unless
word.
That's your full intention. Unless you go into a movie where, like, hey, every day we're going to write a new page of the script.
You got to stand on your word.
Yeah.
Fast and the Furious did the same thing. They're ripping up stuff too.
Yeah, that's true. They're extending their what was going to be a 2-movie finale to a 3-movie finale. How are you going to add a whole nother movie to 2 movies? You're going to split it up even more? I don't know. But yeah, man, we'll see. We'll see what it comes out to.
We'll see. I will have a review by next week.
I'm going to try to have one too. That's all we have for today. Thank you for listening, and if you would like to join the conversation, you can email us at onthegopod2023@gmail.com.
You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at On The Go with Jacob and James.
You can find James on Instagram at
James9794.
You can find me on Instagram at jacobdantone.audio. James is on the go.
Jacob's on the go.
We are all on the go.